Utility Authority Board of Directors meeting, December 5th, 2017. I get everybody to please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Termination of voting members. Mr. Clay.
Here.
Mr. Priestman's here. Mr. Fadley.
Present.
Harry Moldenhauer. Present. Mr. Myers. Absent. Mr. Nelson. Absent. Mr. Tremaine. Absent. And Ms. Anderson is absent. Agenda item number 2, the meeting minutes from November 14th, 2017. Any errors or omissions? Being none, I'll entertain a motion to accept as written.
Motion to accept as written.
Second. Mr. Clay, second. Mr. Faley. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, consent agenda.
Make a motion we accept the consent agenda as written.
Motion, Mr. Clay.
Second.
Second, Mr. Fadley. Discussion? I'd like to pull item number 8, if we could, please.
Okay.
Everything else looks good. All in favor of accepting the consent agenda with number 8 pulled?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That being said, we'll jump right on.
Number 8.
to number 8. Mr. Hayford, would you like to give us some explanation on this, please?
Further explanation.
Further.
At the wastewater treatment facility Road, one of the treatment units is a centrifuge which is used to do the initial drying of the material that's pulled off the digester. It's the initial drying element. To make that centrifuge work, there is a drive unit, sort of like a variable frequency drive, that ramps up to the RPMs needed to spin the material. That unit and board and that unit went bad. The charge, the total cost for that unit was slightly over $15,000. It was $15,160.35. The only reason why this is appearing in your board package as it is a necessary emergency expenditure was that it's above my spending limit in the purchasing guidelines of $15,000. So, since it was declared as an emergency by me, we went ahead and ordered the replacement unit because we needed this functionality to be returned to the centrifuge. And I'm asking the board to ratify this expenditure this morning.
Either that or you got to pay for it. Is that what you're telling us?
I think we just went that.
That or we tell them to come pick it up.
Just tell them to return it.
It's just the speed control. Is that speed?
It's a variable frequency drive that slowly ramps up the speed of the centrifuge to its operating revolutions and then shuts it back in. So conceivably, you could probably try to use it without it, but it's just not recommended.
Yeah. Well, I know it's a minimal expense, but it is still above your spending limit. That's why I wanted to open it up. But then I do have another question for you. How long, how many decades ago was the $15,000 implemented? And is that still functional, or do we as a board need to increase that?
I don't know when that was implemented. I think it used to be when I first got here around 10,000, and then at some point in time it was raised to 15. From a standpoint, we very rarely do we have these kind of expenditures, but we do. So the idea of 15,000 being representative in today's day, probably not. I will offer up that we are currently reviewing or going through the purchasing manual from front to back, looking at that, and this is a topic that probably should be addressed by the board, or at least a consideration for the board to raise that spending limit to something higher, maybe 20 or 25,000 for these expenditures. Again, we all have to recognize that we stay within the budget, and those expenditures need to be recognized.
things, nickel dime things like that come back to this board that we've already approved that really don't need to come back to us. But this being an emergency situation, we don't want to get caught short where you're having to do something out of the ordinary and waiting for us to meet and approve an expenditure. So I was just curious if we could do anything to help you on that level.
Well, clearly, if the board was so inclined to raise the limit today, then that's something that could certainly happen. I will tell you, though, that it is under consideration for the new purchasing manual. It's one of those items that would have to be addressed and discussed. So whether it's raised now or raised in a couple of months when the new manual is up to the board for review, that would be where you're at. You did touch on another note. Some of these things that are recurring with the board is, let's say, it's an expenditure for an engineering study approved at $25,000 or $50,000. We have always routinely brought those back every month to the board just to approve. So then the question is, under the purchasing guidelines, if it's already been approved and it's just a regular monthly expenditure, does the board want to see those invoices every month? Even though they have been approved.
My personal opinion is I think it's just adding extra fat to a meeting and slowing us down a little bit when it's already been approved. Now, if it is to exceed or needs board attention, my personal opinion, that's when we need to see it again, because we have enough stuff to deal with without having to approve all these expenditures that have been approved once before. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and to that note, if it was, say, a construction project, clearly, the board has a agreement with the contractor to do the work, and it's a good vehicle or a method to be able to bring it back to the board on a regular basis, just to tell you where the project is and what's going on. So that's kind of a little different deal, those expenditures. But certainly on the routine, everyday expenses, for a study or an application process.
I think with you going through the purchasing process now, I'd like to see that too, because I'm still very firm about we need to make some kind of arrangements to have some caveat in there to buying local, how we can do more buying local with the vehicles and all those things. We've been through this several times, and there's some ways to do it that the city and county do it, so I'm definitely all on board to look at that and try to tweak it to where we can do a little more local. I know things that you can't buy local, we understand that. But when it comes to vehicles and everything else and hard parts that we can use, I'd like to see them bought from here. So,
All right, now I drifted a little bit, but that's fine. I guess we'll just wait until that purchasing policy comes back, and then we'll revisit it at that time. But I just wanted to get your opinion on it more than anything, because we had it come to you for $160.
Tom, you need a vote?
So we need to.
No, I agree. Rather than try to put band-aids on one at the time, it's nice to clean it up when you review the purchasing policy.
No, I mean on number 8.
We have to approve 160.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm fine with number 8.
Do you need us to prove the $160.35 he went over?
You need to ratify the action because he's already spent it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion to ratify the spending.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Tommy. Harry, was that you? Yeah. Okay, Harry, motion, Harry, second, Mr. Clay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Agenda item number 9 is meeting presentations.
Mr. Chairman, board members, we are at the end of our first lease agreement between the OUA and the county, and the OUA and the clerk of court for the use of this building. That will be coming up in the next agenda item. But to get to that agenda item, there was a question about where the OUA board would like to meet in the coming year. And certainly there are two choices. One would be to continue utilizing this facility which will be addressed in agenda item number 10, or to go back to the OUA building and to meet there. However, to meet in the OUA building, there would be some necessary expense by the OUA to be prepared to videotape the meetings, to either present live or to do a tape-delayed version of these meetings. There is another twist, though, involved in this decision-making before you agree to spend the money, and that is that the OUA, if I remember the numbers correctly, out of 60 applications, was ranked 16th for the building rehabilitation. And we're kind of in that netherland where we're not far enough up to guarantee money, but we're close enough to where we may be within the state's guidelines or spending threshold. And my suggestion to you on that is it would be, I'm not sure it would be wise to spend money now to put in video equipment only to realize in May or June we did get funded for a building rehabilitation, and that stuff has to come out.
You told me it was dumb.
Sir?
You told me it was dumb.
That because it wasn't on video yet, sir. It is now. No, it certainly wouldn't be wise, and I know that we would spend the money now and then have to take it out in less than a year.
And this is so expensive that
I just throw it in there for you to consider whether or not we do the expense or stay here, and then that'll be our segue into item number 10.
Well, this has worked out well. I mean, better than I ever expected working here. We sure haven't drawn the crowds that we always did over at the other place, but
I get phone calls.
Do you?
Yes. You haven't got one?
Never.
I get one.
Yeah.
That's from my buddy.
But
Check it on
but
us.
really, this is so conducive. It works great. And under the unknown of, you said until late spring, we won't know anything until then. You know, I agree with John. That is a foolish expenditure to even talk about at this point.
Well, that's where we'll know. Sort of, they go through the budget process. They'll have the final ranking of the projects to know if we stay in that position, and then where the monies are allocated through the legislature and the governor. We'll know what our process is moving forward. And if we do move forward with the rehabilitation, obviously at that point we can decide then whether we want to incorporate the video streaming in the redesign, or again stay here, whatever the board's pleasure.
Have we engaged Ms. Williamson or any of those to lobby on our part? That Ms. Betty and all those that are very instrumental in some of the stuff that's being saved in this community? Dowling Watford, for example?
If they have, again, the process now is at the secretary's position.
That's what I'm saying.
And then it goes to the budget and then to the governor's office.
Well,
Certainly,
I mean-
if they had those connections.
I'm not sure they don't, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I mean, maybe we need to reach out and see if there is, for lack of better words, some pressure that can be applied.
I can certainly reach out to them and know if they have that capability or are willing to do that. Certainly with, the architect, it was very helpful in putting the application together. And then I participated in the video presentation or conference. It still is a strong statement that these folks that were meeting ranked Okeechobee County 16th out of 60. So I think that goes a long way to saying that in comparison to those 60 other 59 projects, what we intended to do here is really good, and it's really important to the state. So hopefully that'll happen with the budget process.
Any further discussion from the board? Well, this is an agenda item that doesn't need any action at this time, so
If you choose to wait it out, then it does not require any action.
that would be my thought, that we don't do anything now, that we're going to have to potentially take out in 6 months if the board so approved it. But it's my understanding from the city administrator, when they did that remodel and the repairs over there, they pre-wired theirs, and it was virtually next to nothing while the walls were open to go ahead and put it in, so.
Whether you use it or not, you can always go ahead and rewire.
Exactly. So, anyway, I think we need to just discuss it more after we realize if we get the grant.
Do we have to vote on staying here now? Is that what?
That would be an item 10.
That's next
I
item.
think is where we actually have the two agreements that y'all are, as a board, in the consensus, authorize the execution of any other agreements that are still outstanding, the clerk's agreement maybe still outstanding, but we'll put it there.
Okay, if it's the board's pleasure, we'll move from 9 to 10. And that is exactly what we're discussing now about execution of the agreements. As of last meeting, we did get the agreement from the Board of County Commissioners, but the clerk of courts didn't have hers prepared at that time. I understand she has one prepared there.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
The county agreement has been signed and sent on to the county, and I believe they did approve that at the last DOCC meeting. And so now we're just ready to move forward. We're agreeing to have to do the clerk's agreement, and hopefully have both of those signed and executed.
The clerk has approved that agreement. She
Yes,
just
indeed.
would like for us the OUA to execute it first, which I don't have a problem with.
Do you see any major changes?
No,
None at all?
no.
Okay.
I make a motion that we move forward with signing the Sharon Robertson, the clerk of courts agreement, extending equipment use and license agreement.
Motion by Mr. Clay. Second. By Mr. Nelson. Discussion? We haven't executed the Board of County Commissioners either, so we need to get that included in the
believe
motion.
we did.
No, I didn't sign
Okay,
it.
we did.
Okay, well then, we did.
I was waiting for the whole package to come in to sign it and get approved by the
That's the
board.
second motion.
Yeah, can you amend your motion to?
And I amend my motion to do the same for the county
Both
agreement.
agreements. You're approving the execution of both agreements with the county and with the clerk.
So said.
You agree with Mr. Nelson?
Yes, second.
Second amendment. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 11, Pine Ridge Park, second addendum to the asset transfer agreement.
Chairman and board members.
Are we ever going to get done?
Pine Ridge Park.
What you have in front of you is the second addendum to the asset transfer. Just as a background, when the original documents were signed, the OUA took ownership of the wastewater treatment plant site as well as the water treatment plant site. At the conclusion of our two projects out there to tie into the water and wastewater system, once we built our pump station on the wastewater treatment plant site, the bulk of that property was to be returned to the Gadsden family, the Pine Ridge Park Corporation. We are very near that time when we're going to turn it back over, and as you might have heard last month, there was an issue with the way the contractor had installed the fencing for the pump station, in that it encroached on the property to the north that is also owned by the Gadsden family, and there were two choices. They could tear the fencing down and put it in according to the contract documents, or we could reach out to the Gadsden family and ask for a warranty deed, if you will, for that extra property we needed to the north that would incorporate the fence. The documents you have in front of you today have been signed by the Heartland Bank as well as the Gadsden family, and they have agreed to the additional property we needed for the pump station. I believe it turned out to be 62 by 63 instead of a 60 by 60 parcel. They've agreed to that. Those documents have been signed. We're here to present that this morning to the board for your review, consideration, and approval to execute the document.
If you look at the little survey that's in your packet, the last sheet, you can see that originally we were talking about a 60 by 60. It's now 62 feet wide and 63 feet deep because of that, so we needed to get a partial release, additional partial release from the bank, which has been done. But all this board needs to do today is to approve the addendum to the agreement, which says we will among other things, it says we will reconvey the balance of the property less this new piece, which is 62 by 63. Right. It also says that we will leave intact a tank that's there. They do not want us to put holes in one of the tanks, John.
That is correct. In the treatment units, they wanted, part of what DEP is, well, what DEP certainly requires is for us to clean out the tanks and disinfect them. But they would also, as a caveat to that, want to make sure that the tanks don't become a public nuisance, fill up with water, and breed mosquitoes and whatever. The Gadsden family has asked us to leave those tanks in place because they have some planned use for aquaculture. They're going to raise something in those tanks. And so,
Mosquitoes?
Hopefully not mosquitoes. But they do realize, and we have certainly instructed them that if it becomes a public nuisance, they will be dealing with code enforcement or health department or somebody that's going to come in and take care of it.
So we're in agreement with all that, Tom?
We're agreeing with that, but they are with the understanding that they assume all the liability that is associated with that. We will leave them intact, but they bear full responsibility for maintenance and all of that henceforth.
Does that alleviate us from liability from what DOT, but not DOT, but from what they've asked us to do by making the holes in the tank?
Well, these tanks are on the parcel that's going to go back to them.
That is correct.
So it's going to be on their property.
Right.
They're the ones that ask us, don't put any holes in them or anything like that. So that understanding is in this agreement, as well as their responsibility future as far as liability, maintenance,
But that
whatever.
alleviates us from any liability.
Yes, yes.
Because it's
Matter
all
of fact, it's got to
documented.
have the stamp of approval from DEP on this too.
So we'll leave it with the perimeter fencing intact, any signage,
Right.
that type of deal. And they recognize the fact that they're taking ownership of it. We've done our part to clean it and disinfect it, and then they can use it for whatever their private or commercial business enterprise, whatever they plan.
Well, when you hand it back, like you say, it's got to have a DEP
We will do a closure on the treatment plant.
with a DEP stamp.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're
Yeah,
good.
we're good.
So you need a motion?
Motion to approve the addendum and the execution of it.
Okay.
And that fence out of place is covered in this, where it's not going to come back and bite us if they ever sell.
This
the
covers,
property.
this solves the fence
Yeah,
problem.
I
Yes.
wanted to go to bed after this.
It gives us a bigger piece of property.
Okay.
Yeah, we gain another foot and a half or so.
Yeah. I make a motion that we accept the Pine Park second addendum to the asset transfer agreement.
Motion by Mr. Clay,
Second.
second by Mr. Nelson. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Do we have any public comment? Thank you for being here.
Say something.
Get on video, please.
Do a dance, sing a song. All right, agenda item number 13. Mr. Khan.
I know that we have no insurance coverage on the incident or the dispute with the mobile home park.
That is correct.
And we have executed the agreement with Mr. Melville. We're going to have a meeting with him Thursday, as a matter of fact. Thursday, he's coming over here.
Thursday, 9 a.m. at your office.
Thursday at 9 a.m. to gather additional facts. He was going to reach out and see exactly what the issue was. I've not heard back from Mr. Melville as far as the result of that conversation. We'll probably learn more Thursday when he comes over to meet with John John and me,
What's the damages?
Harold Melville.
Now, the damages, what was it?
We don't know.
It was in the complaint, it was $15,000.
Oh, it was just a jurisdictional, you have to allege damages in excess of $15,000 in order to be in the circuit court. We don't know what he's seeking. We have no idea.
Is it flooding or something?
Place that on there.
I'm sorry, you weren't here at the last meeting.
And I didn't read it all, I'm not gonna lie to you.
This dispute, or the root of it, was back in 2003.
This is the old,
Rocky's Mobile Home Park.
yeah, but it belonged to old man Holden or somebody. What was the old guy that run the swimming pool?
I don't know about that, but I know we've had
been going on for
issues,
years.
Fingers were pointed at us because we were trying to do some maintenance on the property
Yeah,
because of the lines that are in there, and then we found out they'd been doing work on those lines,
I remember all this from when I first got on the board.
and we tried to resolve it. So we just put a master meter, fine, we won't go in there, we'll just put a master meter
Yeah.
in. We
Remember that?
stopped maintenance on the plant, on the lift plant. That's been 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
At least 3, I'd say.
2013, I believe.
And now, all of a sudden, we get hit with a lawsuit, so we shall
Okay.
see.
All right, good enough, that's all I need to know.
I mean, I can't tell you much more, I don't know much more than that. John, I don't know that you've got anything else in the pot that's boiling right this minute that of significance. I can't think of anything else to tell you.
I guess one lawsuit's better than 2.
One's better than 2.
Marvelous job. Our fence is taken care of.
Fence is taken care of, hopefully. We won't address that again.
There for a
Until,
while, you had to pile up 'em every time we come to a meeting.
hey, we've tried to put the fires out, dampen it.
It's the season.
Yeah,
Our agreements with the county and the clerk are done. You've been a very busy man. Thank you, sir.
Well, the only thing I'm going to be coming back to you with is approval to authorize the execution of the deed conveying that Pine Ridge Park parcel back, and that should close the chapter on Pine Ridge Park. Rest of it's up to John after that.
How long have we been at this? 3 years?
Yeah.
We received the receivership, I think it was 2015 is when it officially was given to us as a receiver.
Right.
And then in summer of 2016 is when we actually purchased
Right.
the utility and then moved forward with the project. So we're pretty close. We should have power into the pump station this week, hopefully. We do the pump, drawdown test on the pump station. If they turn over the rest of the documents we need, as-built, release from liens, we could call it done probably even for this month, into this month.
Good deal.
So it'll be January timeframe maybe when the work of the deed transfer comes back.
That'll be nice, finally get it done
Yes, sir.
Council.
from where it started.
Separate issue. Common topic, but separate issue. We've had something that's come up, I thought this one was long since dead, dealing with a little treatment facility in Buckhead Ridge
Oh, yes.
that, John wrote and wanted to know what I knew about Lakeview subdivision, I think it is. A few years ago, they put that on the tax rolls. It's a lot in what's known as Lakeview subdivision, which is on a couple of Buckhead Ridge lots. You may know where it is, Tommy, but I didn't until
I was getting ready to ask Harry where Lakeview is.
It originally was owned by the subdivider, and they built a sewage treatment plant there. It fell into disuse. We picked it up, as we usually do with these things, and we've been operating it. Well, it got put on the tax rolls, assessed to this particular lot where the plant is located, assessed to the developer. No taxes were paid. A gentleman named Mr. Tootle bought the tax certificates, ended up getting a tax deed, sent us a letter he wanted rent from us for the operation of the plant. Well, I looked at the plat, it's clearly dedicated for public use, for sewage treatment use. So I sent a letter back and said, I'm sorry, we don't owe any rent. That's dedicated and we're using it properly. It's approved plant, blah, 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 blah. He ended up giving a deed back to the county and getting his money back. Now the county owns that lot, which has our sewage treatment plant on it. John, you can pick it up and go from there.
How much they want for it?
You,
The reason why this is being brought up there is, there is as strange as it may sound, there was some money allocated by the state to do a demonstration project of a septic to sewer program. This company got the approval to spend the money in Dade County and Okeechobee County. So they approached us looking at different facilities and asked if the Lakeview Estates treatment plant would be a viable candidate where they could go in and build this little treatment unit and treat the wastewater coming into it, and then obviously have a few other new houses join the system to see how well it works. Therein lies kind of the rub, because while we operate the treatment plant, we don't own the land that it sits on. And so the question that was posed to Mr. Conley was whether or not, if this money were to be spent, it doesn't have to be in our name, the property. If it's just a matter of changing it over from Glades County to Okeechobee Utility Authority, then that might be the choice we want to go. It's not going to cost us anything. There will not be any taxes, but it may help us out as this project actually gets developed, that we own the property to be able to spend the money to put this treatment plant on. So it's.
Well, you got a pretty good group down there right now with the county commissioners, so they'll listen to you. So why not ask?
It would just be a method to be able to either talk to the commissioner that represents Buckhead Ridge, or to go straight to the county commission and ask them what they want to do about this. Right now, if we weren't doing this project, if this corporation had reached out to us to try to do a project, I would just say let it lay. Don't do anything. But because we're now moving forward, it just might be that there's agreements to be had. It would be easier for the ODOA to be the sole executor of that, as owning the property and treatment plant, maybe, as opposed to having multiple owners to it. So it's one of those techniques.
So what are we going to go to? I can't think of the man's name.
Tim Stanley?
Yeah, Tim Stanley.
Commissioner, who's the administrator out there? Did you figure that out?
Sir?
You said the administrator
For the county, I
Glades
don't know.
County didn't figure it out?
Paul Carlisle.
Paul Carlisle.
John, is it geared to a county? Because that's in Glades County as opposed to Okeechobee County. When you were talking
Right.
about Miami-Dade County versus Okeechobee County, does it make a difference that it's down there instead of in our county?
I believe that question was asked to DEP, who administers the funds, and the answer was because it's a part of the Okeechobee Utility Authority, and it's in our service area, it's conceivably that it is Okeechobee.
Okay, and that wouldn't be an impediment. Because I think if it was, I can't believe that Glades County would want to continue to own that. They'd have to follow their process, their procedure, declare it to be surplus in order to do it. I mean, I can't see why they would want to continue to own that parcel.
You got Tim Stanley now. You got Donald Strength. You got Weston Pike.
See, I don't know any of them.
You don't
I don't know any of them.
really. Donald's been down there forever. Good guy. Weston's Byron Story's son-in-law.
Oh,
So
Okay.
you know what I'm saying.
that'll help.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't reached out to anybody yet. You haven't either, have you?
Yes, sir. It's just one of those, when you talk about things that are in the works, this is one of the ones that, since it's a demonstration project for this private company to fulfill a state appropriation, we're just there to try to help and to make it work. But I don't see, right now, I don't see any real benefit to the long-term benefit to the OUA for this.
Well, other than we're participating in new technology.
Yes, sir.
Would they be operating the plant then?
That would be my understanding, because, you know, they want to get all the data that they can. So they would need to operate it and do the sampling and the testing, because they want to show that it does in fact work. So that would be my guess. I would assume that if we are going to be able to move forward with this, there would be some kind of written contract, you know, stipulating what the conditions are that Tom would have to review and the board would have to come back and review and approve. So that would certainly be covered in that.
And what happens when the study is over? They hand it back to us? Do we have any idea of the economics of operating their system, or what are we getting when it's all over?
The answer to that is open-ended, because obviously if the plant doesn't work, we'll put the old Lakeview plant back in service. If it does work as promised, and the information shared with us, operating costs, makes that the most beneficial choice, then it will probably be left there.
And where is this parcel?
It's to the, I don't know the direction, south, it's like the last element in Buckhead Ridge. So
Chobe Street, Chobe Loop, the Chobe Loop, it's,
the Water Management District, kind of wedged near Andrea Lane.
it's not,
By the marina? Is it?
no, it's closer to the road.
Oh, okay.
So this new subdivision, they put
not
that new
very-
element, they put in there, and that nobody's ever built.
Built in it? Yeah, okay, that's,
It's just. on the
okay, I know
south
exactly
side.
where you're talking about. Yeah. It's the new nice one that somebody put in over against the very end, and nobody's ever put anything in there. It's right by that. All right, that makes sense.
Is this, do you understand it to be the construction of a new facility or an upgrade of the old one?
No, it would be a new standalone facility.
And there's room there to do that?
They say there is. Again, you know, until I guess they get everything approved that is a viable project, they haven't done anything. Now, what I can tell you, we got this system the same way we got Pine Ridge, through abandoning. So we have very little information on the plant. So on the OUA's side, we are going to survey the collection system so we know where the manholes and the laterals are and have accurate system maps. And part of that will also be to survey the treatment plant, where the lot lines are, where the tanks are, and the disposal field, to give them an accurate representation of where the open spaces are.
We don't have a set of as-built, or DEP should have a set of as-built if they permitted it, right?
I've gone through Oculus looking to see what they have. We've been through the Fort Myers office looking through their files, and there is very little on this treatment plant. Very little. We found an operations manual, but no plans.
Maybe we're getting one brand new that's never been done.
Well, ultimately, we could end up with that, and of course, what that means is, you know, they would have to do all the permitting to get it to approve the DEP, and I'm not sure how all that's going to work out, but
At this point, it's not our problem.
that's kind of my opinion.
Yeah, it puts money in somebody else's pocket
Yes.
as an experiment.
As an experiment. It's funded.
But I mean, the pressure's not on the OUA to do much of anything on this. I guess if it,
That's a feather in our hat. And hey, we tried. If it works, we're heroes.
Somebody has done their review of this proposal and said, this is worth trying, and we're just trying to help them out with it.
that's,
Anything else, sir? Thank you, Mr. Conley.
no.
Items from the executive director.
We're going to take care of a couple housekeeping issues that are in front of you. There are two invoices that we received, I believe, yesterday from Echo Engineering. Echo Engineering for recap is doing our treatment plant expansion for the storage tanks at the surface water treatment plant, as well as the application process into SRF. You have two invoices from them. One for $10,846.95. To help for the cost of the treatment plant improvement. And another invoice which you may want to treat separately or combine them into one motion for $10,500 on their work towards completing the SRF application process.
Kind of hung on that $10,000 number this week, aren't they?
Kind of a convenient number for them.
John, question, are these ones that have been previously approved by the board in the budget, and this is what
Well,
we're
the
talking about?
expenses, the total expenses have been approved. And again, this is a representative that every month we might get an invoice in to help defer against that. Again, the only reason why they're coming in today, they were perfectly on time for our meeting on the 12th. They just didn't know the meeting on the 12th got moved to the 5th because of a conflict with the use of these chambers.
Okay.
So do you want them together or separate?
It probably would be cleaner if they were done as a separate motion.
Okay, separate. All right, I make a motion on item agenda number 5. No, it doesn't have a number. Eckler Engineering, $10,846.95, that we go ahead and pay that this month?
For the surface water treatment plant improvement?
Yes.
Okay, motion by Mr. Clay.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Further discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Then I make a motion that we pay the SRF application process to Eckler, $10,500.
Motion, Mr. Clay.
Second.
Second, Mr. Nelson. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Didn't hear you, sir.
Okay. Well, the staff recommends approval of $10,500 at the bottom of it.
And I would say that our fault, the typo, that it is, I'm sorry, it's the $1,462.
So you want me to redo that one?
Just to at least, yeah.
All right, we need to amend the SRF application process from $10,500 to $1,462.50.
Motion to amend, do you agree?
Second to the amended.
Second agrees. Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's way better than 10.
We're coming up for 160.
The only other thing is to remind everybody that we do have our company luncheon, December 7th, noon time. Good eating. We'll have your,
I was getting ready to say, who's going to run mine up to me?
we do have takeout service. So everybody is certainly welcome. It's a good lunch. Please.
It is a good lunch.
Come down and partake. And enjoy the meeting the employees and the food, the time.
That's good.
That's, I think that's
Thank you,
John's.
Agenda item number 15, items from the board.
I think Tom wants to say something.
No, I was waiting.
You just wanting to,
Okay.
You going to do that? All right.
All right, if there's nothing else, I want to open up and revisit an item that was brought before the board last meeting about surplus of property. Since that last meeting, we've received a letter from an individual that's showing interest in purchasing one of the parcels. And, I've had almost a month to think about this, and being on this board, Tommy's been here, Jeff and Harry, it was always the positions of this board that we're not in the land business. We're not in the land business. We've got an opportunity, and we instructed staff to come back in council to bring us the policies to surplus property. And it seems like last meeting we backed off on that a little bit. And just my personal thoughts and feelings, we've got a lot of potential expenditures coming up here with, I just drew a blank. We got Whispering Pines, we're going to start working into.
Tanks. Storage tank.
Storage tank, Treasure Island. Boy, I drew a blank on Treasure Island. We've got a lot of things on the plate that are coming up here, and it sure would be nice to have some surplus, and that might be revenue. This might be the place where we can get it. So I just wanted to open it for discussion more than anything, since we are seeing some people interested in purchasing some land, to revisit that policy. And, just open some dialogue on it, because I think we've drifted away from where our original direction with this board was to get out of the land business.
Well, I talked to John a little bit about this too. My thoughts have always been, we've held it, it's come back up, probably not going to come up a whole lot more in the near future. But you can also go in and set an amount, even though it's absolute, it doesn't come to absolute until it reaches that amount that you're asking for.
Ken?
Yeah, you can put the reserve on it. So I would personally get some good appraisals on this property and look at it, and let's move forward with trying to get rid of some of it. I mean, some of it, all of it, I'm still in the thought process that with what goes on down towards Treasure Island, that we might still want to keep in the back of our mind a land swap, just in case we do have to come up with a facility down there instead of piping sewage 14 miles. We have the ability to do that, even though everybody kind of says we don't. We do. We have a piece of property that a certain individual wants, and he has a piece of property that would fit the need that he's bought. So I would look at getting a good value on this, and then bring it back, and let's sit down and discuss it. And I would personally move forward with trying to sell some of this property. That's my opinion.
Another thing, food for thought in my discussion with John and Mr. Conley is, if we start piecemealing this, we get interest on parcel A. An auctioneer's not going to come out here to do one at a time.
Right.
And come back and come back
Right.
and come back.
I'm just saying you maybe hold one piece that could be traded for a piece that would fit a future land use.
There's a lot of things to discuss on that, of course,
Yeah.
which that's down the road if the opportunity ever
Right.
arises. But it doesn't hurt to get, like Mr. Clay said, is to appraise them, find out a fair market value on this thing, put them out for auction with a reserve at that number or whatever percentage above, and if we sell it, fine. If not, we lost nothing.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's going to build our reserves a little bit, and even with if we get approved for the grant for the building restoration, that grant's not going to cover 100% of the construction cost, I wouldn't imagine, unless we get really lucky, not at 16, rank 16 out of 60. So we might need some
Funds to finish it.
to do this.
Yeah.
So my thought, and I agree with you, and we need to get it appraised and move on. But I'm just opening this up for discussion today.
I respectfully disagree. I think there's large potential upside for holding that property, that there is potential for great growth in price, and that we'd be foolish to sell it now.
But if we're asking for money to go out there for certain projects and we're holding property that has value over there, I mean, if I was a lender, it would be apprehensive to lend you money when you're sitting on something that you could sell to raise capital.
Harry, where do you think the most expensive piece we have is the Coker piece, probably, right?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Okay. And that's the one that we've got contact on that one too, sort of.
I don't think there was anything formal that you were contacted.
There has never been anything in writing per se, but we have been contacted every 6 months, if you will, about the availability of that property. Clearly, what we have to keep in mind is on 3 of the properties, there are ag leases, so they do generate some money. But clearly, some of those properties, we'll talk about, say, the Coker property, where development pressure is there, water, sewer, road.
Yeah.
By selling the property, the selling price is probably going to put future cattle leasing out of the question because the land is going to be too costly, which would then mean that there could be some development. And by having development, we get customers. So there's a lot to figure into this, trying to decide whether you keep a piece of property long-term because we know what property values are doing versus the short term in what we do now.
Well, Harry brings up a good point. I mean, as to land values, I'm not sure I agree, but I understand where he's coming from. But we have enough people in this community that know what's going on. If we get out and ask the questions of the Bobby Tuckers and the David Hazeleafs and the Culbras, and what do they see coming? Is there some certain group that's wanting economic council? Is there a certain group that's looking to expand into our community? Is there another, you know what I'm saying? Is there another builder that's looking at coming in? And I think we can do some legwork on it to satisfy Harry, to see what the values might be, and to satisfy the rest of the board on where we want to go with it. Well, we know we got two big pieces, the 100-acre pieces, and there's two of them. And then you get down around the sewage treatment plant, that is what it is. That's low-lying, cost you lots of money to go in there and never do anything with that. Piece over here is prime. You know, it doesn't make us a dime. It's good free parking. We could put up a parking building. But my point is, there's three of these pieces of property that have like Harry says, has a good value to them. The one in town, the Coker property, are probably your two most valuable. The piece down at Nubbin Slough is going to be a little more valuable than you think it is, because a certain person doesn't want it to get away. So that's going to be the way he did he was $6,000 more on his lease than the closest guy to him. They didn't want anybody in there. So I think that's the one I'd use as a bargaining chip. But if you want to sell it, you know you're going to get top dollar for it from them, because you're going to have a group of them that work together to try to make sure that he's the top guy.
So if I understand correctly, then as far as direction to staff, go ahead and get some appraisals done on the city parcel, the Coker and the Nubbin Slough. I would always suggest the one parcel where we had the house on 78 that we wanted to break out to two individual lots. We could get those, at least some idea on the appraisal. If we're going to have a sale, selling those two parcels is going to be of no significance, if you will, to the use of the OUA.
Right, and you're going to get you can call and see what the piece right next, if you jump over Sammy's dad's house, that 6 acres is for sale going on to fishing headquarters, and I hear it's high. I hear it's way high. Yeah, that's Jeff's property. So, he sells for big dollars.
The house?
No, it's actually from the house on...
From the acreage, it's the acreage, that piece of acreage on the corner.
Yeah.
With Farrell Boulevard.
Yeah. Highway 78 there. He's right out on the road, right across from Derek's shop and all that.
Is that sold?
No, he's got a sign on it, and I hear it's high.
It goes around behind the fishing headquarters, comes to the road.
I think it does work
goes up to
around.
the restaurant. The residents, yes.
Fishing headquarters is, they've
mountains.
expanded now, their parking lots and stuff.
Yeah.
They're working on it right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what direction do we want to give staff to start appraising something?
I can get it appraised.
And,
Harry gets a good idea, we get a good idea, and if we can come to an agreement on a reserve.
Would there be any interest in the board to choose the appraisal company and have them come back and do a presentation in January on these parcels and get recommendations from them?
Did you do it in February?
Well, if they can come something definitive, not just what the service they offer, if they can come back with some legitimate numbers.
Good hard
on this
numbers.
property.
Yeah.
Well, if we do all these appraisal companies obviously have access to, the auction companies have access to appraisals, or we can secure that. But at least if a appraisal company is chosen, they could come back and talk to the board about the total package.
Yeah,
process.
the comps and everything that they've used.
How to do it.
Yeah.
What would you expect? We can get the appraisals done. But
I'm just asking for February for my benefit. I am not going to be here in January. I already know that.
Well, considering the time of year and Christmas and the New Year's and all that, I think that's reasonable to be talking about February instead of a January.
That's true.
I'm okay with February.
You okay with
I'm fine
February? Yeah.
it is, from what we presented, so then at the January meeting, would you want to choose the appraisal company? Or is there a choice to that?
Wasn't there a list of them in here?
Yes.
Oh, we throw a dart and get one there.
I'll leave that up to, this group up here to choose. I mean, would that be agreeable, Tom, to
Yeah.
choose an appraisal company today?
He just made a good point. We want an appraisal company to bring value, not a sales pitch.
Right. They're going to say.
Yeah, we just want values.
Well, we can do the appraisal independent of the auctioneer.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
It's just a
concerned.
question of whether or not you want to, when do you want to choose, if auction, then I would certainly suggest that would be a great way to sell it, sell the property, whether or not an auctioneer could be chosen today or January.
Why not you and Mr. Kreisman choose this? I mean, he's running this thing, you're running, I mean, you guys ought to be smart enough to do this, right?
You give me 3 names. I said I'll throw a dart and let's get a stick.
Well, we could certainly, with the chairman and council's review, we could go back with a recommendation.
I'm okay with that.
Fine.
That's fine. That's fine with me.
Well, while we were talking, my mind drifted, and it's a good drift, actually. You know, we had discussed, this appraisal will give us some idea on what we're dealing with per acre on different parcels, because definitely, different parcels have different value with land frontage, utilities, availability. And down the road, we're talking about, you know, if the opportunity came, a land swap. We certainly don't want to give up a piece of property that's valued to us at this high amount to some grazing land that's down here.
Right.
We have to make sure we're level
Yeah.
when we do some swaps, and this will be a way to start to find out what we want.
Absolutely.
And without that, we can't even discuss.
I've
swaps down the road,
I've always said at least 150 acres of what he has for the 100 we have.
or 250.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Well, it certainly is not going to be acre for acre, let's put it that way. Because
not if I'm sitting on the board, it's not.
the acreage we have is very good land, highway frontage. drive.
Yeah, the property that he has is the same kind of land, it's not highway frontage, and that's what you like about it, it gets you further back.
Away from the lake.
It
Get
gets
away
you,
from the lake.
what it also gives you some opportunity to do some things on the river that they've asked us about with the fluent water that they're pumping through their system there. So there's some, I think, going forward, there could be some opportunities for that water that's coming out of the river that they're trying to run through their little deals, or vice versa for the water we have to go back through that. And, you know, there's,
And we don't know the answer at Okatani yet.
no, and that's my whole point.
Right.
You might be able to do something there for Okatani that takes care of the mayor's home there in Buckhead. Because, you know, what is there, 1,600 down there, 1,800 in Buckhead now?
I don't know.
Come on, man.
How can we elect you mayor if you don't know your demographics?
But I think it's somewhere around 1,600.
I believe that's about correct.
Yeah, and Glenn's moving forward. I mean, you know, he's put his road in. Water management ain't slowed him down a bit. So his plan is to at least have, what I understand, at least the 80 lots across the back on the deep water in the near future. He's gonna build his home down there, right in the middle of that. He's already put the big barns up and roads in, cow pens in. He's building a show place down there. But, if he puts some 80 houses in, there's 80 lots. There's gotta be somewhere for it to go. He's either gotta build a plant, or we take the money he's gonna spend on a plant. If we've got property and, there's several things to look at. If you got Okie coming on board maybe, and then maybe Glenn coming on board, there's some opportunities possibly to at least get a pipe through that area to a small facility. I'd hate to have to pump it from all the way down there all the way up here.
Crossing the river.
Yep.
Well, we would only go right across the river.
But I just think that we get the values in, and then we sit down and evaluate, getting rid of some of it. And if that trade's fine, if it's something you don't want to do, I'm looking for 10 years down the road. I mean, you'd hate to have to go out there and buy that property at 7 times, so that's all I got.
Any other items from the board? Well, since we're meeting Thursday morning with Mr. Melville, is there any
Yes.
time for us to discuss that appraisal company at that time? I'd like to consolidate. Our times are all very busy, so we can.
I don't know why we couldn't.
We'll just do it then. No other business coming before the board. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Anybody want to ride to Atlanta this afternoon?
That's an adjournment. Thank you, everybody.
No volunteers?
Everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New
Absolutely.
Year.
Absolutely.
Be back on the 21st.
I would have, but we've already adjourned, so.